And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're from. Thank you for listening in to another episode of Carry Out Conversations. I'm John.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Noah.
It is so good to have you guys here. Today is a little bit different than what we've been doing. This one's going to hit a little hard. So I hope you guys are ready for it. There's no like easy way to get into this one, so I will throw it out there that we are going to put another content label on this one as well.
Yeah.
We are going to be hitting some very deep subjects that a lot of people don't like talking about. So I will go ahead and give you that warning now. There will be talks of suicide, of mental illness, of basically just anything that has to do with the mental illness that's going on in this country. So again, you are warned. If you are uneasy about talking about that or about hearing about it, I would advise to skip this episode. For those who stick around, thank you so much. And let me go ahead and say this too, and we'll say this at the very end, guys. I'm sure that everybody will agree with me. If you are suffering from any form of mental illness, or whether it be depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide, please do not take this episode as a help.
Yes, and go seek real help.
Go seek real help, because it is a very serious matter. It's a very dangerous matter. In fact, Dave had even brought this up. This was one of the very first ideas that we had once we did this show. David brought it up that mental illness it's out there. It's everywhere.
It's a crisis. I think it's a worldwide crisis.
It really is. And especially in today's times, we're still coming out of the pandemic. I know a lot of people, when you talk about your mental health and things, I know that the COVID crisis and everything had a lot to play into that, because we were all stuck at home. We were stuck at home by ourselves. We weren't allowed to go out and see people, talk to people. We had no social interaction whatsoever. Those that did, you had to sit 6 feet away from each other and basically yell at each other from across the room.
Then there's those of us who had to work right through it. I worked at a grocery store at the time.
Yeah. I remember I had to work through the whole thing, and I'm not sure, like with Noah, with like school and stuff like that, what that had, how that affected you.
Yeah, we were so when it started, I was working at Qdoba, so I was working full time through COVID for the most part. The last couple months I wasn't working, but for like the first couple I was.
Mm-hmm. And, it's like, yeah, a lot of people maybe listen to that and be like, oh, well, at least you guys had a job and stuff like that. I can't imagine what it was like for those that lost their job due to, the COVID crisis. And we're not going to just talk about, COVID or anything like that. It's kind of one of those things that really kind of sets the tone.
It's kind of an inciting incident, if you know what that is in literature. It's the thing that starts the series of events in emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And
story.
Mental health is like I said, it's a big thing. There is an issue with mental health in the realm of life that affects everyone. Like I said earlier, it's kind of hit hard. Whether you're young, you're old, you're gonna suffer from some form of a mental health. I know I do. These two guys that are sitting across from me know me probably more than most of my family members do. They've known what I've had to go through and what I'm currently going through. So I suffer from it. I know other people that we work with that suffer from some form of a mental health issue, and it's hard to talk about. But like I said, there's really no like upbeat way to really get into this conversation.
There are no easy answers. There's no simple discussion about this. It's all complicated.
Right. And so we're going to take just a little bit of time for the next hour or so and just really kind of dive in with, what we think. Again, we are not professionals. We are not, professional therapists or counselors. We do not advise to take what we say in this episode and use it for your own, help or your own cure for mental health. We just want you to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
Whether it's thoughts of depression, anxiety, self-image. I know self-image is like a big thing, especially right now. You're not alone in this. There are multiple millions of people that go through the exact same thing. And I know that's hard to say too, is, because, it's like, oh, well, I'm not alone, so I'm nothing special. No, that's not what I mean at all. I mean, when it comes to, what you're going through, what you're facing in your life, you are unique, but at the same time, you don't have to be an island out in the middle of the ocean. You have people around you that love you, that care about you, that want to see you get better. And if nothing else, the three of us want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to jump right into this, guys. Again, thank you for everybody who's listening, who listens in. Now, a couple of questions that I want to ask and just kind of get us started for you guys are, what is the cause of a lot of the thoughts that we have? Again, we say that mental health and mental illness is it's all around us. But what are some things that causes us in our life to amplify that?
Stress.
So you're speaking about environmental factors, right?
Environmental, emotional, mental, whatever, anything that's there.
Even diet can play into it.
Yeah, no, diet does. Yeah, that gets into the thing of like, how does the modern food industry impact mental health?
Mm-hmm.
I think it does a lot. If you actually look at what's in your food, we're all in a pretty rough spot.
Yes, very much so.
It's like, oh, it's natural chicken. It's like, no, this is chemicals. But all conspiracies aside, I do think a large. I don't think it's the same for female mental health, and I can't really speak to that because I've never experienced what it's like to be in the mind of a woman. But I think a lot of issues that men have right now. And it's not everything. It's not all issues. It's not the majority of the issues. But I think one of the contributing factors is we don't do anything. Like a lot of guys, when we have a rough time, we get to sit in our pod in a way, and so we can sedate ourselves with things, whether it's video games or alcohol or music. Now, it doesn't mean don't have a beer. It doesn't mean don't play video games every now and then. But we have to make sure that our enjoyments are not just sedations and that we're not overindulging in like these hedonistic practices so that we can not deal with the real issues.
As an escape.
Exactly. So we like, and by an escape, like it's okay to like de-stress from work and play a video game or watch a movie. That's not an issue. But the issue is when all you do is wake up, like go to work, watch a movie, go back to bed, repeat. It is good to have hobbies and it is good to like establish relationships and deal with your actual problems, but you don't want to do the things you love, but don't let them become the thing that you just avoided the issues with. And I think that's a contributing factor for a lot of guys is the modern world has given us many ways we can sedate ourselves, and it's just making the problem worse.
Yeah.
Well, and something I want to ask, you guys, along that same lines is, speaking again, we can only speak for ourselves as men because we are men. I mean, we're not women. We're not, anything like that. So it's like we can't think about what like the female mindset is or anything like that. But when it comes to the men today, and especially, in today's age, doing the whole, finding things to alleviate that or finding things to basically push our feelings and our thoughts under the rug, by habits, you said, by video games, movies,
pornography would be another one.
Pornography, those types of things that we use. how much of that is, is us just trying to alleviate ourselves, and how much of that is the cause of, when it comes to men's mental health, nobody cares.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's true.
And you hear things all the time where they talk about, it's like, oh no, men's mental health matters, and it does, but it matters mainly to the people that's going through it.
Yeah.
Well, so there's lip service about it. So it's like men's mental health matters until a man brings up his mental health.
Right.
Right. So what's really messed up is, like, they've done studies on, like, they've done studies on why, like, they're like, hey, why aren't men going to therapy as much as women? And so they looked into it, and so what they realized is, when men tell men to go to therapy, they're more likely to go. When women tell men to go to therapy, and when females tell men to go to therapy, when females and advertisers tell men to go to therapy, they're less likely to go. So, like, men are also more open, on average. This isn't, obviously it's not everybody. Men tend to be more open with their male friends and more vulnerable with their male friends than they often are female counterparts. And so there is a sense in which male mental health takes on a different form when it's male to male as opposed to male to female. Because even though the narrative is kind of like, oh, well, men are too scared to be emotional, not with each other as much as with women. And that's my take, and I think that there is evidence to back that.
So essentially, men tend to put up a front when dealing with the opposite sex, like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm masculine. Right. I can protect you."
Exactly. That's biological.
That's the male's role. It's you're the protector. You're the the breadwinner, so to speak.
Well, so the really messed up part is, if you, like, listen to female men's mental health advocates, they always say, like, we should be okay with, like, men crying around us. And it's like, yeah, you should. Mm-hmm. Like, there are times when men, like, if a family member dies, yes, men, it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
You don't have to not cry because that's gay or something like that. But it's a biological fact that women are less attracted to you once they see you cry. Mm. And it's like, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
really
humans are hardwired that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And every time I've told a woman that statistic, they're like, "That can't be true." And it is. They've done multiple studies on it. And it doesn't mean that they don't still find you attractive or don't love you. It's just there's a biological difference that happens to a woman when they see the person they're in relationship cry.
Well, essentially, that's because you're shattering the illusion of security.
Yeah. Not that you're not still a good or strong man, but just you're breaking that idol that they have of you in their mind. Mm-hmm. So,
because oftentimes you're kind of their safety net.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of breaks that, like, oh, I mean, if he's losing it,
what do I do?
Yeah. What hope do I have, basically? Right. And that it's sad too, because I know the dynamic has changed a lot, like, over the past couple of generations. I remember when I was growing up, if you got hurt or if you were upset about something, our parents, the men influence around us, the male influence around us, would always just told us, and just walk it off. Yeah. Just walk it off, rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine. And so we were taught to basically push those feelings down, inside, not because they didn't want us to see them, but it was just, that's what we were supposed to do. We are, and I don't mean this wrong, because I know, like, certain people could listen into this and just be, take this one little thing, but as men, we are to be the stronger sex, emotionally. Because, men aren't supposed to feel pain. Men aren't supposed to be hurt. They're not supposed to, be sad or anything like that. And it's just, like I said, I can attest to a lot of this myself. In fact, I just told the guys something about this before we started. And, it's like, I have my own mental issues, and these guys have seen it like I said, these guys have seen it more than anybody else has, dealing with working with them and stuff like that, and they've put up with it a lot. But it's gotten so bad, before, and I told myself that I would never actually kind of bring this stuff up. But again, it's not one of those things where we're going to talk about this to have people feel sorry, because the last thing I want is for people to feel sorry for, what I'm going through. It's more along the lines of, again, those that have dealt with this type of stuff before, and are afraid to talk about it. This is kind of my way of like showing that you don't have to be afraid. Again, I can only speak for the men, guys. You don't have to be afraid to talk about your feelings. It doesn't matter what the women dynamic is or what they think about you or anything like that. It's like, yeah, if you want to put up a front for your wife to let your wife think that you're like the most masculine, person in the world, but at the same time, you've got to show some vulnerability too. But I've struggled over the past couple of years, and I'm not going to get fully into the details of why, but I've struggled the past couple of years with depression, with anxiety. There have been days where I've gone to work and literally have just stood in my area, couldn't even do anything. I mean, literally just stood there, where, it's like, you don't know what your next move is. You're afraid to move. You feel weighed down. And something that it kind of hits hard for me. And I'm not going to take over this whole conversation, but it hits hard for me because I am, as hard as it is to say, I am a 4-time attempted suicide survivor. Stuff that, my family doesn't even know. And, it's hard to say sometimes because it's like you live with that. It's like the thoughts that you have, it's easy to push those thoughts aside until they take action. And when they take action, you literally live with that, for the rest of your life. I'm not going to go into detail on the ways or, anything like that. But again, it's just one of those things like where, it's like, as hard as it is to say, literally up until now, 3 people in my entire life knew about this. The 2 guys that are sitting in front of me, and another friend that, after the first attempt, I reached out to, some people just on a random, website, that deals with suicide awareness, that deals with, mental, health issues. And I reached out and I met a friend, and for the longest time, she was right there with me. I mean, she knew what had happened. She knew why, and it took like just talking about it, and not just talking about it, but being told that, it's not as bad as it could be. Now, it's not to say that, it's like people who deal with mental health issues or deal with suicide, or suicide attempts, suicidal thoughts. That's not to say that it's not important for you guys to hash this out or to work it out, but it could always be worse. And I want to read something to you guys just really quick, and I'll say this and then we'll move on, because like I said, I don't want to take over the whole conversation. But there's a thing that's on my playlist. It's like a spoken lyric, spoken poem type thing. And it's called Breathe, is what the the title of it is, but I want to get to, just a couple of things here, and then it will lead on into the next segment of it. But the very first line it says, "Today I looked up how long it would take to drown. How long can you hold your breath before you can't hold your breath any longer? And how long until your lungs give out and the sound that used to fill the void quiets like a mouse at midnight searching for its piece of the pie? Today I stood in front of a window and imagined what it would be like to fly. No, I didn't. I imagined what it would be like to jump outside the frame of that caged me inside. But my better judgment said it wouldn't be very kind if someone you cared about found you. That's the voice that plays like a tape on rewind, rewind, rewind. It wouldn't be fair to a stranger either." So in saying that, I want to get your guys' opinions on this, and it's like not even just with suicide, but with, in general with mental health. What are some things that holds us back from taking action, more or less? Like, again, for those who have those suicidal thoughts, those suicidal tendencies, what keeps you grounded?
One of the things you said when you were talking there is you said something along the lines of I forget exactly what your words were, but essentially we can be hopeful about things getting better without invalidating what somebody is feeling. As someone who doesn't struggle with suicidal thoughts, I can't really approach it from the same way. But what I can say is the only way forward is hope, not just pragmatism. Because we can say, well, I want to stay here for people, and that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing, in a sense. But it can't just be pragmatic. It has to be. It has to be, in a sense, more than that. It has to be from a position of hope, because, for someone to want to end their life, they have to be in a place of hopelessness. So it's more than just, listening to those people, which is very important, but it's giving them hope. Now, how that actually works out in the day-to-day, I don't know. But I would say hope is the answer to despair.
And like you said too, and I agree with it, and sometimes hope is hard to find. It may be, you're staring down that tunnel and all you're seeing is just that little speck of light at the end. But as you said, it's that hope. Take that little speck and you take that step towards it, that little speck of light's only going to get bigger. The more steps we take. So, what are some ways that we can help alleviate the mental health that's in this, especially in this country right now? I mean, I know it's a worldwide thing, but especially in our country today, what are some ways that we can really kind of help alleviate the mental health issues that are around us?
Well, we need to remove the social stigmas around them to start. Now, I honestly kind of believe that what you think is a stigma might be entirely in your head. Like, people are going to make fun of me, or people are going to ask me too many questions, or people are going to bug me about this. That's kind of another thing that I could say holds people back, is you don't want to be bombarded with questions from friends and loved ones. It's annoying. And you're not prepared to answer. You're not prepared to play 20 questions with these people. So, if you do have a friend or relative going through something, just give them space, but be there for them. Don't play 20 questions. Don't ask. I know you're worried. I know you're concerned, but just calm down and give them the space and be there when they need you.
Mm-hmm.
So especially with like a lot of my friends who have like issues with mental health stuff, they often appreciate it when if I notice something's up, I send them a quick message or I give them a call and I just say, hey, if something's going on, let me know if you need me. Just the fact that I'm there for them, and then a week later or 2 weeks later, they'll text me and be like, hey, I was really in a dark space and I didn't come to you, but knowing you were there for me, gosh, did that help. And it's like bombarding people is not the same as being for them. It's for you.
Right.
It's not for them. It's for you to feel like, oh, I'm reaching out, I'm helping.
Yeah, it's so you can pat yourself on the back.
Yep, it's ego feeding.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help someone in a dark place is when they're down here and you're just elevating yourself by bombarding them with questions.
Mm-hmm.
So letting, people be there or letting people know they can come to you, but actually telling them they can come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is we do know factors that contribute to depression, like addiction. So if you have an addiction to drugs, alcohol, pornography, video games, whatever it might be, if there's any way to look at the things in your life that are directly contributing to that mental health state and trying to get rid of those and finding the things in your life that help you and trying to amplify those. And I know that sounds like generic and easy. It's not. It's going to be like the hardest thing you ever do.
It's a dangerous feedback loop because you may turn to drugs or alcohol.
Yep.
Because of the mental health.
And then they just make it worse.
Right. And so that's why we're looking for a hopeful future, not a sedated present.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think along the lines of what you're saying too is, I remember, certain times where I didn't want anybody around. Like I didn't want anybody near me at all, but thankfully somebody was. I will say like for the last attempt that I had, I remember like at a certain point of trying something, and literally immediately after that got a message out of the blue from somebody, like what you were saying, just somebody just sending a random little message, just like somebody random got a message from a friend and they knew exactly who they are. I'm not gonna embarrass them or talk anything like that, but they literally just sent me a message out of the blue and was like, I'm concerned and just want you to know that I'm literally just here. And I remember just thinking like, okay, that's that little bit of hope of I didn't reach out to anybody, I didn't talk to anybody about it, nobody even knew, nobody was around me at the time, nobody knew anything of what I was going through, but then this message just kind of came through. And it's like I think that having those friends that know you about as much as you know yourself really kind of helps. Because a lot of them know, it's like, and there are times like Dave was even saying, we don't want to be bombarded with questions. Sometimes we just want somebody to just sit there, not even say a word, just sit there. I know that really helps a lot. But something else that you kind of touched base on, and I think really could help us is we need to have that balance in our life. We've talked about it before. Dave's brought it up many times on a couple of other episodes that we've had, where there's this overstimulation of social media, technology, just media in general. Noah touched on it with alcohol, drugs, porn, all this kind of stuff that's just around us. And I'm not saying, first off, let me say this, porn's bad.
Yep.
Porn is bad. I mean, there's no balance to that at all. I don't think. I mean, cutting it out is the best balance you can have. But, there needs to be that balance, I think, of our in our lives of getting so much social media and then stopping. And if you feel like that's dragging you down a rabbit hole, get it out.
I think especially social medias like Instagram, they're just awful for young women, especially. They have negative impact on young men, but man, young women, they put their bodies on there and they're just being judged, or they want to, because they want to be showy about how beautiful they are, then they're being sexualized at younger ages and just like awful stuff. One of the things I think is a really good thing to do is every social media, for the most part, lets you check the time that you've been on it. I would recommend doing that, and for many people, it's a wake-up call. It's like, hey, on average, you spend 2.5 hours of your life on this a day. And the other thing you can do is you can, in many of those, for both Facebook and Instagram, I think the same for Twitter, you can set in the app a limit on how much time a day you're on it. And then it will remind you, it's like, hey, you've been on this for an hour. A whole hour of your day is gone on just this. Maybe you should get off. Like, it'll remind you to not be on it. And so if you do think that that might be a contributing factor, looking at the time you're spending on those and actually telling the app itself to be a check for you is a good way to start.
Yeah. That's something I like about TikTok is TikTok does that where, after so many like swipes, there are actually like it'll pop up videos from like the TikTok like managers, I don't know what they're called, but they'll pop up and they'll tell you, it's like, hey, you've scrolled this many videos, or you've been on here for a while, get off and do something else, and I mean it's like you
by
said,
the way, check out our TikTok.
Yes, check
every time I see those, like, the healthy thing would be to be like, you're right, TikTok, but I'm always like, screw you, trying to watch my TikTok.
You try to scroll past it.
Yeah, I think there's great irony in it being called social media when ultimately it contributes to social isolation.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about earlier with just having friends there kind of reminded me of that. Like, it's driving you further away from the people that care about you, and no one realizes it's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that social media, and it's very ironic because we do have a TikTok page, we do have Facebook, we do have Instagram.
Yeah, our posts don't contribute to mental issues.
We try not to.
Well, our Twitter only has like 3 posts, and our Instagram has like 2 photos.
Yeah,
so.
how much damage can we really be doing at this point?
Well, our TikTok has 4 videos now. Thank you for everybody who's seen and liked our TikTok.
Yes.
Our TikToks are the most popular thing we do.
It really is. It's one of the most popular things that we have. But again, there has to be that balance. There has to be that balance in our life, and that leads right into the next part of what I think, as far as a good balance, is our physical health. We are how's the easiest way to put this? We are a fat nation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean that degrading at all, but we are a.
I'm very happy this was brought up.
Remember what I was just talking about with feedback loops? Yeah, snack foods do the same thing.
Right.
It's a dopamine release, and then you eat more, and then you're tired, and you don't feel like exercising or doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like we got to have that bit of a balance in that one too, guys, because I mean, junk food is good.
It's tasty
in taste, taste, but not good for us. And especially when you're battling depression, one of the things that either happens is you don't eat or you can't stop eating.
Yeah.
And as Dave said, it becomes that loop of, it's like, okay, now I ate so much, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed. Mm-hmm. And so then you wake up the next morning, you're like, okay, now I'm hungry because I slept. So,
so the really messed up part is you eat because you're depressed, and then the added weight increases your risk of depression.
Right.
It's like Dave was saying about other things. It's a feedback loop. What's also really what's really interesting is how much exercise is a positive, right? It's not just a lack of what we're not eating, but it's how much exercise actually improves your mental health. It's like, well, why is my mental health bad? It's like, okay, you're unemployed, you eat junk food all the time, you don't go anywhere. It's like, okay, get a job, stop eating junk food, go to the gym, hug your mom, things will get a lot better. Now, that doesn't fix everything, and that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is physical fitness and purpose, adding purpose to our lives and getting rid of things we know to be negatives. Like, if you can do that, man, you're on an entirely different boat than you were before. The other thing, and I realized like this recently, is cold showers. They're very good for you, both physically and mentally. Like your mental, the way it affects like your central nervous system through what they call cold shock proteins. It's almost like an adaptogen, so it makes your body better at handling stressors. So if you're like a very anxious person, yeah, they suck, but cold showers can actually help you with some of your anxiety. It's not going to fix everything. Yes, if you need medicine, get on medicine, but cold showers can help. Same with saunas. Saunas help regulate, like if you have regular saunas throughout the week, that helps like regulate blood flow, and it'll really help with. It's also like those are actually called. It's not cold shock proteins, but it's like a heat treatment therapy, like actually has a good benefit on how the body regulates stress. So obviously it's not going to fix all your anxiety issues just because you hopped in the sauna and took a cold shower. But there are things like that which seem kind of minimal and mundane, but if you do them for extended periods of time, it'll help you. And no, this is not pseudoscience. This is legitimate science. Like Wim Hof and all those guys have looked into it. So
yeah, no, but and like you said, it's those. It seems minimal, but it's that small step towards that speck of light at the end of the tunnel that gets you there. I mean,
so which essential oil do I need to cure depression?
No, don't. So that's exactly the problem. Is whenever people are like fitness, cold showers, saunas, everyone's like that's pseudoscience. But
essential oils are real.
No, essential oils
crystals.
Essential oils and crystals are false. And that's why I said these aren't going to fix all your problems. These are.
That's not even pseudoscience. It's just science fiction.
Yeah. I'm very excited to go to the mall and collect crystals for my spells. Right, guys?
Okay.
Because if you don't acknowledge me as a witch, this date is over.
Okay, so
am I missing some context here?
No, I'm making fun of. I call them Barnes and Noble witches. I think we've talked about this on the show before. Is like girls who think they're magic because they collect rocks from the mall and like read tarot card books at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
and there's this comedian. This is a little bit of a brighter note. There's a comedian. He has a joke where he's like. If I go on a date with a girl and she says she's a witch, I'm like, oh, cool. How long have you been doing witchcraft? But if I say I'm a wizard, the date is over.
Yeah.
If you think you're a wizard, you have a mental illness.
Oh, goodness. You're a wizard, Harry.
Oh, really?
So anyway, but you think about it too, though. It's like that's kind of a hobby for some people.
Being a wizard.
Yeah, being a wizard. As much as I don't condone witchcraft, I don't believe in it myself. Anything like that. But it's like sometimes those weird little things kind of help you in your own mental state, because
if that actually helps someone with their mental health, I'm okay with it.
Right.
Because that's not like I wouldn't call that like legitimate witchcraft. I would call that like cosplay.
Yeah, it's basically what
because like legitimate witches are like, I worship Molech, the Babylonian god, and it's like, oh, you're terrifying.
Yeah, that's a whole other form of depression.
Yeah. Right, and so that's why they're like Barnes and Noble flavor and not cult scary.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this here, because this is something that I think of myself when I know it's the exact opposite of what you were just talking about, the whole witchcraft and things like that. It's like I firmly believe, and as a personal note for myself, I have found that again, we've talked about it before. we all have Christian backgrounds. I am a Christian. I do stand firm on, my belief in God and things like that. And I've learned, especially over the past little bit, that the closer my walk with God that I have, the better my mindset is. And I know that's not a fix-all. Religion is not a fix-all. I do believe that as a country, where we really started going wrong is the day that we gave up God for, our own personal gains. But let me ask you guys this here. You set these goals, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We set these goals in our lives, get closer to God. We, if you are into the whole witchcraft thing, get closer to whatever you're trying to get closer to, setting goals for our physical health, things like that. What happens when we don't meet those goals?
I don't know. All I do is win,
Oh, okay. You feel shame.
Yeah.
You do feel a bit of shame.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of a trick being like, okay, this is, you have to kind of tell yourself, okay, this is just a little setback. Let's get back on the horse tomorrow,
Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about this, and Dave, I hope you don't mind me, talking about this just a little bit, but something that actually kind of like it helped me some is seeing your progress that you had.
Oh, well, thank you.
I won't get deep into it because I don't want to embarrass you at all, but you had goals for your life that you set out, and me and you have talked about it before, and things like that, and watching every day you coming up and telling me it's like, hey, I did this or this happened for me, and it watching your personal growth actually kind of helped me get to where I wanted.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I was helping someone else. I was just excited.
Right.
Because I've lost almost 60 pounds. It depends on the day.
That's awesome.
That's great.
And you guys you guys know, but our audience doesn't know. Back in December, I was diagnosed with diabetes. I have type 2 diabetes. But because I was able to put off the weight and change my diet, I pretty much got it under control in about 4 to 6 months.
Yep.
And it's amazing.
It really is.
It's amazing. Like I said, it's like seeing those goals that you had, really kind of watching them come to fruition, watching them, seeing them, physically happen. It does help.
Yeah.
And I know for some people it doesn't. Some people, they look at it and be like, oh, things are going so well in their life, they're horrible for mine, so it puts us deeper down.
Well, if I might take the reins for a second here, I was one of those people like, oh, I can't just snap my fingers and lose 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
But it still happened in 6 months or so.
Yeah, you put in the hard work and you made it happen.
It is hard work.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm still struggling with it now because my weight for the past 3 months solid, my weight loss has plateaued. Okay. I'm within 10 pounds of where I was, 3 months ago. And I'm still struggling with, all right, how do I motivate myself? Because one thing that's happened is I wasn't working out as much as I was. I wasn't putting in as much physical activity, and I cheated on my diet more times than I'm comfortable with. By the way, any good diet has built-in cheats.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you're going to feel trapped by your diet, and you're more likely to quit it. So indulging once in a while is a perfectly healthy thing to do.
Mm.
Not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Just general. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah, only eat chicken and rice, nothing else. Hate yourself. No, I'm kidding. No. That's like not the way to do it.
No,
rice is a huge pile of carbs. I can't have as many of those.
Quinoa. Quinoa is a superfood. Okay, people are gonna think I'm like a super pseudoscience loser if I keep. I got like all these Joe Rogan facts that are like popping through my head. But yeah, eat quinoa.
Never thought I'd hear Joe Rogan and facts in the same sentence.
Oh.
Hey.
Yeah. Well.
He's good at being Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, if you want to join us, come.
Yeah, Joe, we'd love to have you on the show.
Come guest on our
Joe Rogan
podcast.
like nobody
You
else.
can talk.
Yes.
We can talk about your mental illness.
Oh gosh, that's gonna take more than one show.
I feel like we'd be like, "Hey, Joe, how's your mental health going?" He's like, "Yeah, I've really been fighting tigers a lot, and it's really helped."
Yeah.
I'll just be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome."
But yeah, even today, even despite the progress I've made, which is a huge accomplishment, I'm still struggling.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to, figure out how to pick back up because it's still tough. Like, I work all day. I'm tired when I come home. I don't want to come down to the basement and start lifting weights. It's not fun.
I find myself laughing most days because Dave and I will take lunch around the same time together, almost every day. And I don't know, it just kind of just happens. But it's like, I'll go in and I'll have, a bowl of ramen or, it's like a candy bar or something like that. And Dave sits across from me and he's like, bunch of carbs and sugar. Wish
Yeah.
I could have it. And it almost makes me like,
I'm
maybe
also
I just
saying,
shouldn't
hey,
eat.
don't eat as many of these things because you're going to end up like me.
yeah, and it's like I take that sometimes because I'm just like, it's like, man, at first I'm like, he's just jealous that I can eat this stuff and he can't. But then it's like I get to thinking about it. I'm like, no, he's actually trying to help. Again, it's that benefit of having a friend that's there.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need that. We need that, person to be like, listen, idiot, what you're doing is stupid and I'm going to help you get through it, and I'm not bashing anybody who goes
Well, honestly,
through
I've
that
mostly
but-
just been judgmental. Like, hey, stop eating that crap.
yeah. Yeah. Dave and his judgments.
Dave never judged me
It's because nobody ever saw you.
because I was so short.
That you
You
know
said
of.
that, yeah.
Like, I'm very judgmental of you.
Thank you.
He just doesn't tell you. He would tell you if you were still there.
Here.
By the way, just kind of a side note, Noah left us at work a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And he is hopefully moving on to bigger and better things.
Well, I mean, I own a business, for the record. I do own an LLC, and we have
And
been.
how profitable is it?
I am the owner of an LLC, and we are looking to expand into the market of
Money?
money. Yeah, we would like to
Yes.
make money. Send all your money to me at Noah Host Claus address.
We'll post it on our Instagram.
Do not do that.
Why?
I don't want.
How are people going to know where to give you money?
They'll find out. No, so it's kind of like Santa. Like when kids send letters to Santa, they like just write Santa at North Pole on it, and it goes to him. Well, you just write Noah from Carry Out Conversations. It'll come to me.
You need a P.O. box.
Yeah.
I do have a PO box. It's Noah at carryoutconversations.pobox.com.
Just look for the donations on our website.
Just put stuff in your mail, and I will get it. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Goodness. And I'm telling you right now, just having the little bit of jokes and stuff like that, and I hate to be the one to be like, yeah, get back into serious stuff, but having these little bit of jokes and stuff like that, it helps. Again, I've noticed that something that hurts us a lot of times in our mental health are people.
Yeah.
Because, quite frankly, people are dicks.
Yep.
And
It's true, dude.
it really is. It's like, because people are only selfish when they only want to help when it benefits themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what you said earlier, it's like, when it comes to asking, bombarding people with questions, are you okay? Tell me what's wrong, this type of thing.
You're not doing that for them. You're doing it for yourself.
Right.
So you can feel good. Oh,
Right.
I helped so-and-so.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm awesome.
Yeah. Or they can, when something happens, be like, oh, I don't know, I was there for them, but in reality, our own lives kind of gets in the way of our own lives when you really think about it. You know, it's like people are selfish. At the same time, completely flip it around. Sometimes the best help you can get are from other people. You know, those who actually do care. And
altruism still exists. It's hard to find, but it still exists.
Right. And, you know, it's like I say this, you know, and I don't recommend this, but if you really want to know who your true friends are, go through depression. Again, that is not to say, like, don't do this and try it, but that's when you really find out who your true friends are, who your true family is, you know, because a lot of times when we go through, and people who battle with depression, they don't tell anybody outright, but the people that are around you, they see it. They see what's going on. Your true friends will be there. You know, again, even if it's just sitting there and not saying a word, just sitting in complete silence, you know, having a loved one hug you or hold your hand, you know, and like I said, not even saying a word. You know, even, and I know it's different for many people. I have a friend that for a while he would message me and be like, dude, quit being stupid and talk to somebody. That's all he would say. You know, but, you know, it's like it kind of gets your butt in motion sometimes, you know. It's like, and I know it affects different people, you know, different ways. I mean,
and that's the other thing, is that guy knows you, right? So he knows how to approach you. And that doesn't mean go tell that to your friend who has mental issues. But,
right, yeah.
But if you know the situation, sometimes a hard nudge is needed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, how does a baby bird learn to fly?
They teach them.
Well, they teach them. But a baby bird learns to fly by the mother literally pushing them out of the nest.
Yeah, nature is so metal.
It really is. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes it does take that nudge out of the nest, you know, to get us motivated, to get us going.
Don't go pushing your friends out windows.
No, that's not what we mean. We're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
Don't make their physical health suffer.
Yes.
For the mental health. Well, but that's the other thing is like, there is, and this is case-to-case basis, so I'm not trying to broad brush here, but I would rather attend your funeral than... I would rather not attend your funeral. So it's like, you can hate me, that's fine, but I'm not going to attend your funeral. So if I have to say something that hurts you, not out of a place of malice, not like I'm trying to hurt this person, but if I say something that has to hurt someone in a way, but it also stops them from killing themselves or gets them to talk to someone that can actually help them, I won't feel bad about that.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
You know, because I don't need to be like, if it hurts me but I can help you, that's fine. You know, but either way, it's like sometimes you have to be heavy-handed with people, but not everyone's the same.
Right.
So you do have to know your friends, know how they respond to these things, because otherwise you might be heavy-handed with someone who's very fragile and you'll break them.
Yeah.
So, you know, for someone like Jonathan, there are times where you need stern friends who are like, hey, man, I love you. You need to move. Like, you need to make these actions happen. But if there's someone else, like, let's say myself, I don't really have any mental health stuff, but that I know of.
That you know of. Yeah.
But like, let's say somebody told me the same thing that his friend told me, and I didn't respond well to it. And that's why, like, when we try and help people with mental health, it's like, it's a touchy, like, it's difficult.
Very complicated.
Like, you're walking in a minefield in a way.
Yeah.
Because you just want to love people, but you be cautious in how you talk.
Exactly. Exactly. Because that you know, one false move or one wrong word can send somebody over the edge, and you know, going back to something what I had read earlier and what Noah kind of touched on, of, you know, he would rather not attend your funeral, a lot of times when we go through suicidal thoughts, we don't think about the other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like we only think of getting ourselves out of the situation that we're in, stopping the hurt that you know, we're feeling. And again, it's not just about everybody else, you know, because you are facing what you are facing alone. You know, only you can really know what you are going through. And it's sad to say that because it's so hard to think of that. You know, it's like, okay, out of everybody that's around me, I'm the only one who actually knows what's in my mind until you talk to someone. But you got to remember this here, and it's something that I've had to come to the conclusion of myself. And like I said, when I just read it earlier, of it's not fair for someone that you love to find you at the end of your life.
Mm.
And especially if it's by your own hand, because, you know, it's like we see it so many times, especially in the, you know, celebrity state, you know, people that we've grown up, you know, listening to, watching in shows and movies, that type of thing. Like I remember, you know, one of the biggest one that kind of hits hard for me is just because I loved the band was Chester Bennington. You know, hearing what happened, the final moments of his life, and not just for the fact of, okay, here is a celebrity, somebody who's had everything basically handed to him, you know, suffer from a mental health issue, suffer from, you know, depression, and, you know, finally get to the point of ending his life. But the fact that it makes me almost feel more sorry because his wife and his kids were the one that found him. Mm. And, you know, going from, you know, a spouse to even your children, it's going to tear them up, you know, and, you know, it's like, I'm only here on the outside, you know, it's like, oh, here's a celebrity that I, you know, admired that is no longer with us. But, you know, I couldn't imagine what the family has gone through. And, you know, something that I've had to come to terms with on my own, with my own issues, is that no matter where I'm at, you know, I could go out in the middle of the woods and end my life tonight. Somebody's going to find it, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a stranger. The fact of you taking your own life just does not just affect you. It affects everyone around you. You know, I think of, you know, like suicide being that ripple effect and, you know, a pool of water. You drop a little stone in a water and it makes a splash right there, but then you start to see the effects throughout the whole surface of the water with each ripple. And it's not just, like I said, it doesn't just affect you, it affects those closest to you. It affects those closest to them and those closest to them. And, you know, another great celebrity, who, again, who, you know, resulted in the loss of his own life was Robin Williams. You know, it's like, again, you know, we idolize these people. And, you know, when that happens, now it's like you think about it, and it's almost in a selfish way, but you think about it, I'll never be able to see a new movie of his.
Right.
I'll never be able to hear, you know, his comedy anymore other than going back and watching. And then what happens when we go back and we watch those movies? You think about what happened.
And you miss him.
And like I said, it's that ripple effect. Somebody I've never met personally, I'm still affected by the choices that were made, you know, that resulted in the end of his life.
So I'd like to ask this. Do you think in some ways celebrities kind of have it worse? Because if word got out, and, you know, I wish it had happened that way, but if word got out that Robin Williams was seeking therapy, that would have blown up all over the news, and he probably knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that there starts the gossip train. And, that is a hard train to stop.
It is. I personally think that, I think they do have it worse sometimes. And I don't remember if it was Robin Williams or Jim Carrey, one of the two, had made a comment that the saddest person in the world is the funniest person in the world.
Yeah, the clown.
Yeah. It's the one that makes everybody laugh, because at the end of it, if he can make everybody else laugh, who's there to make him laugh? And, Robin Williams spent his entire career bringing joy to the people that watched his movies, bringing, comedy. Even in the serious roles that he had, there was some form of a comedy, comedic thing, because it's Robin Williams.
Yeah, like Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
There's still jokes in there.
Oh, yeah, still jokes in that. And you think about it, it's like I can't watch Aladdin without, it's like even the new Aladdin. I'm so mad because, Will Smith did a great job, but he's no Robin Williams.
No.
Yep.
And, it's like that will forever be in my mind, that, how much joy it brought me to watch that movie. But then you get to thinking about it, at his lowest point, who was there to make him laugh?
Yeah.
And so I do think, a lot of times the pressure of celebrities, it does weigh harder on them, because they're there for entertainment.
Yeah.
They're the dance monkeys, in a sense.
And as we've already said, human nature is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So no one truly cares if a celebrity comes out and says, hey, I have depression. I'm not going to be doing any more movies or recording any new albums, whatever their profession is, for a while. I need to go take care of my mental health. That's going to blow up in their face. And I'm almost wondering if that's a reason why a lot of them don't seek help in the first place. It's our fault, essentially.
Yeah, I think when you're in the public eye, how you approach your private life has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you were saying about like your kids or your spouse finding you, even the information about you seeking therapy, how that would even affect your children and your wife or whoever when you're in the public eye. Like you're kind of walking on eggshells in a sense, and that's that sucks. And that just kind of goes into something we've touched on in previous podcasts, is like the Western idea of celebrity. It's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it not only harms the audience, but it harms the celebrity.
Yeah.
I wish success for talented people, but I do not wish fame, because that is a curse.
Yeah.
In some ways, in many ways.
Yeah. Because, once you hit that point of, celebrity status, that A-list, status,
Right.
everything you do is out in the open.
Right.
Everybody's watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, and like you guys touched on, I do have to kind of disagree just a little bit on it, of if they were to come out and say, I'm battling this, I'm going to seek help. To me, that almost brings more of a respect to that person than if they were to not seek the help.
Yes, from you or any rational-minded person.
But the mob is irrational.
Yes.
So
That's true.
So a lot of people would just say, hey, you have all this money. How could you be depressed?
Yeah.
Right.
That's one thing I hate. Oh, everyone else has or a lot of people have it so much worse than you, so you have no right to be
Right.
depressed or feeling whatever you're feeling. Like that mentality has to change too.
Well, they know that people who win, like money, like the happiness you get from money caps like below 100,000. Like it's less than 100K. Not that 100K is a small amount of money. I would love that.
Right.
But it's something like 70 or 80K is where the happiness you get from money caps out. Because once you have all your needs met and a little extra, you're not going to get much more happy than that from money alone.
Well, you're always looking for more.
Yeah, which is why the practicing contentment is important. And man, if that doesn't play a part on our mental health in the modern world, is we're always looking for more and we're striving for this idea of celebrity. So we're not actually content and we're not appreciating and being thankful for what we have. Now, that doesn't mean don't work hard and strive for more in a sense, but be grateful for everything you have.
Yeah.
Whether small or big.
Yeah, and that word right there really kind of sets the tone for a lot of things. Is the gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in mental health today, you know, it's hard to find that happiness in what we have, because again, you know, you start to think about, it's like, okay, well, if I only had a little bit more, if I could only do this a little better, if I only looked this way, you know, a little more, you know, and you start to go down that trail where you just become ungrateful for what you have. You know, I'm not one of those to say it, but yeah, people do have it worse off than
Certain other people.
certain other people. And I've seen the happiest people in the world be the ones that have $5 in their bank account, but they make it stretch.
Mm.
You know, they do like the little family adventures where it doesn't cost, you know, thousands of dollars to go on trips. They make it right there.
Yeah.
You know, and
Have you guys ever seen Little House on the Prairie?
yes,
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, there's a house on a prairie, and
Is it little?
it's little.
it's little, and
Yeah.
there's like a family. It's like a guy, a girl, and their three
Pizza
daughters.
place?
No, and they're three daughters, and they're like, it's like directly after the Civil War era, and they live in this small town and everything. So like a humble like farming family, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
There's this whole and yes, this does tie into mental health. I'm not just doing a tangent about Little House on the Prairie, but so there's a whole episode where they have they have like a tab for their local convenience store, so they can get like sugar and coffee and like stuff for the farm, and they're in a little bit of debt, you know, and so the father starts like his crop essentially fails, and he has to pick up all these side jobs to pay off the debt, and at the the end of the episode, it's pretty clear that they're not rich people, you know, but the shop owner at the end of the episode says, you know, I believe you're the richest man in Walnut Grove, which is the town they live in, and he says that to the farming guy, and the reason he's the richest man isn't because, oh, how much he has, but it's how thankful he is for how little he has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's, I mean, gratitude is the thing we lack most, I believe. Well, one of the things we lack most in the West is we live like kings, and yet we act like we live like peasants.
Yeah.
So,
like I've been saying this whole time, it's complicated. Like that's a great coffee mug quote. What you just said, gratitude. What was it? Gratitude is what we lack.
It's one of the things we lack most. We live like kings, and we act like we live like peasants.
Yeah, that's just one factor.
No, yeah.
I'm not
part
saying it's not significant. It absolutely is.
Right.
But that's the whole thing about this whole mental health topic. It is so complicated. We could spend hours on this.
Yeah, it's not
touching on different parts.
It's not one issue in isolation. It's multifaceted.
It's many, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's so hard to know, because like we've said before, it's like so many people go through different things, and you know, it's not, it would be so much easier if mental health was, you know, we all face the same issue, because then we could all seek help together.
Yeah.
But it's the whole, we don't know what the next person's going through.
Right.
You know, and that's, you know, kind of like getting ready for the closing, to kind of close this up. And we could go on for days about this.
Yeah.
Because it is a very serious matter. Don't ever think that it's not. Again,
and an important one.
Yeah, it's highly important, because you got to think about it. You know, not to add any pressure, but the future of our generations to come hinges on what we do today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I say that with the caution of, if you are dealing with mental health, if you are dealing with mental illness, you have depression, anxiety, self-image, you know, those types of things, don't put it off. Please, for the love of God, for the love of everybody around you, do not put it off. If you are severely suffering through depression, even if you're just mildly, seek help. There are people that are out there. There are, national hotlines, places you can call in. There's therapists, there's apps that you can go through.
And whatever you do, don't let anybody, including yourself, invalidate your feelings.
Yes.
Your feelings matter.
Yeah. They highly do. Even if you, like Dave just said, even if you don't think they do, they do. Because we need each other around. I need these two guys around me just as much as I need, my daughter, and just as much as I need my parents and, my loved ones. It's like, I need these people around me. And the last thing I want to do is attend a funeral a little too early.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I don't want people to attend my funeral a little too early. And I know that I talked about what's happened in my life a little bit. And I have come, especially within the past couple of months, have really come to the conclusion that life sucks, but it is worth living.
Yeah.
And so I say this again, do not take this episode as a fix, as a cure for mental illness, for mental health issues. Let this just be a reminder that you are not alone. There are people that understand. We may not understand personally what you're going through, but we understand what it's like. And we're here to help. We're here to listen. I'm here to listen. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. We are on, go to our webpage. Any way that it doesn't have to be a personal thing. It can be send us a private message if you just need somebody to sit there and listen.
Right. Yeah. Don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, if a couple people you talk to don't listen, it's okay to keep asking people.
Yeah.
Right.
Be willing to, even knocking on doors is better than taking the final leap. I mean, like, seriously, any thoughts you may have towards that direction, no matter how hard it gets, like, I know it's just a platitude, but have hope and just keep going, because it's worth it. Life is worth it. Like, choose life.
So, again, guys, thank you so much for listening. I know this one's kind of this is probably one of the heaviest ones that we will ever do. But it's been something that we have wanted to talk about. Like, when did we start this show? We started this back in April, I think.
Yeah, April
is when we actually started doing all of this. And I remember us sitting down, for the first time and talking about the show. And this was this is actually, I think, the very first thought that we came up with.
Yeah.
Dave brought it up around the table and said that this needs to be addressed. And we've kind of put it off a little bit just because we weren't ready.
And generally speaking, mental health isn't a fun thing to talk about at all.
No, it's not. It's not. And, it's one of those things that there's never a right time to talk about mental health. Just like having kids or finding the better job or getting married. People always say, well, I'm going to wait till I'm financially stable, or I'm going to wait till I'm mentally stable in order to do this certain thing. If that's your mindset, you'll never be ready.
Yep. Don't hold yourself back.
Exactly. Especially when it comes to this. So again, thank you guys so much for listening in. I pray that, we are at least some form of light to you guys. I know seeing you guys, seeing the numbers of you guys listening in, watching the TikToks, that type of thing, it's a light for us because it gives us that little bit of hope. So check us out, tell other people about it. Check our TikTok out if you feel like it.
But don't spend too much time on social media. That's bad.
Yes, just go straight
Only
to our
us.
website. Yeah, straight to our website, nothing else. That'll be like 5 minutes of your day wasted, and then you can go throughout the rest of your time. So again, thank you guys. My name is John.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Noah.
Good night, everybody.